Today we're talking all about that trigger-happy duo and their many, many underwear puns.
Brushing the feet is all it takes to stop me?
I mean, yeah.
Yes. Where's the jacket?
Here are the 10 best Ratchet & Clank games ranked. Number 10, Ratchet Deadlocked. The 10th spot is as far as Ratchet Deadlocked will get on our list, but it's not at all a bad game, just a more condensed experience. See, this was the 4th game on the PlayStation 2, but even optimistic fans were under no delusion Deadlocked would be the 4th story-driven installment of the series. As the name implies, Clank will be around, but this adventure is all Ratchets. Instead, players are given a plethora of challenges, mashed together events, really letting the players show off what they learned during the trilogy. But this also means it's the easiest to get into, practically an arcade game at points. But this game had less guns, which is sacrilege for a Ratchet game. Number 9, Ratchet & Clank Into the Nexus. Into the Nexus was the final entry in the PlayStation 3 Ratchet & Clank series, and sadly this did not go out with a bang. Nexus had a lot to like, namely the graphics. They are among the best on the PlayStation 3 and hold up remarkably well generations later. The level design, however, drastically lacks from even other PlayStation 3 Ratchet games. At points, the stages look remarkably like Ratchet Deadlocked. That might work for a spin-off, but this was expected to be a significant moment for the pair before leaping onto Sony's next console. What we got instead were a lot of very pretty but straightforward leftovers. Number 8, Ratchet & Clank Size Matters. Are you noticing a pattern yet? Size Matters was the first Ratchet & Clank game to appear on Sony's then new PlayStation Portable. Still adapting to the hardware, the team over at High Impact Games borrowed many elements from Ratchet Deadlocked with smaller, more action-driven stages. Can this really compete with the previous 2 entries? Well, surprisingly, yeah. Size Matters used the constrained stages, but still managed to deliver all the action gunplay one would expect of the series. It was eventually ported over to the PlayStation 2, which, if you played it there, we don't blame you for having a low opinion of it. But on the PlayStation Portable, there was nothing else like it. Number 7, Ratchet & Clank Future, Tools of Destruction. The first Ratchet game on the PlayStation 3, Tools of Destruction proved Ratchet & Clank were in it for the long haul. While many other Sony platformers like Jak and Daxter and Sly Cooper stepped aside for their developer's new IP, Insomniac doubled down, delivering some of the finest visuals of its time and continuing all the fun story beats from the PS2 trilogy. Its level design, however, was more of a visual treat than a fun terrain, which knocks this down a few pegs. But Insomniac Games, of all the PS2 developers, had the most success transitioning to the PlayStation 3 from the get-go. Number 6, Ratchet & Clank 2016. Based on the movie— wait, there was a movie? Nah. No way. I think if there was a movie, someone would have remembered that happened. But okay, let's humor them. This was based off a movie by the same name. But this game was a remake of the first Ratchet & Clank, now with all the whiz-bang power of the PlayStation 4. Surprisingly, it worked really well, thanks to its superb enemy animations, large catalog of strange guns, and gorgeous graphical reinvention. The series had been a bit inconsistent by this point, so seeing them return to form was unexpected, but a very welcomed addition. Unlike that movie that clearly never happened, right? I don't remember it. Number 5, Ratchet & Clank. Where would we be without the original Ratchet & Clank on the PlayStation 2? As a society, well, probably mostly the same. But Ratchet & Clank was a genuine surprise when it dropped back in 2002. And as you can probably tell by now, this meant the duo was a bit more family-friendly, at least for their first outing, before really upping the carnage. So why this instead of the remake? Well, maybe it's nostalgia, but more likely, it's just a really lovely, simple, straightforward game. It barely loads for a PlayStation 2 game, and when it does, it loads really fast. It may not look as good, but come on, play it for 20 minutes, and you'll be hooked. Number 4, Ratchet & Clank Future, A Crack in Time. Look no further for PlayStation 3 games on this list, as A Crack in Time is far and away the best Ratchet & Clank on that series. It may well be the console's best platformer, but we'll save that for another list. A Crack in Time has all the action we've discussed, all the guns, all the incredible graphics, but it retains the series' signature humor. Sure, having Quark as backup is always funny, but when he's dressed up in drag as a classic 1950s nurse, well, there's just more personality. And this game has it in spades, as some of your missions are just plain stupid. There's plenty good platformers, but it's that levity in the gameplay itself that makes Ratchet & Clank stand out. Number 3, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. The only thing holding back Rift Apart is its lack of innuendo, though some faithful fans have read it as a spoonerism, a technique where the author switches letters from each word and then puts them together. Okay, let's see here. According to the fans, it's ripped apart. Not sure about that one, but Rift Apart is a must-own and a must-play for PlayStation 5 owners. Its graphics are among the best on the whole console, and its dimension hopping is a technical showcase for the console's solid-state drive. The gameplay feels like a step up from the 2016 remake, and the stage design is much more open and replayable like those classic games. The future's looking bright for Ratchet & Clank. Number 2. Ratchet & Clank Up Your Arsenal. There's still nothing else quite like Up Your Arsenal. When the PlayStation 2 was ready to be sunset, Insomniac Games took all they had learned from the previous 2 entries and forcefully packed them onto a single PlayStation 2 disc. Yes, you're gonna get the Suck Cannon and the Glove of Doom, they're all still here, but so are some 2D stages with Captain Quirk and flying sequences, and even some micro stages. Insomniac Games put all logic aside to put as many sections into one game as possible, and that is actually why it's number 2. There's just too much going on with this game, but that's also why it's number 2. There's so much going on with this game. The only thing holding it back is the expectations, and that's because number 1, Ratchet & Clank Going Commando. We're not here to dispute that Up Your Arsenal did everything and more that Going Commando had, but if we're being honest, Going Commando did it all better. As a sequel to the lighthearted original, Going Commando was a big step up and saw more biting satire and gritty actions, as well as whole racing events. You know, it felt like Ratchet and Clank were growing up, well, except for that title. Between this and Up Your Arsenal, we get the vibe that many things were left on the cutting room floor until the next game. Going Commando is all the wrench-smashing, gun-blasting, Dr. Nefarious harassing you can handle. It's the most refined campaign of the entire series. And that's why Going Commando is number 1. And there you have it, the 10 best Ratchet & Clank games ranked. How are you feeling? Ready to tighten up some bolts or dance to a Groovatron? Well, how about you keep clanking around here on Game Rant? We've always got a new list, new feature, new everything, so stick around, and we'll see you soon.